This episode of All the Gear is brought to you by Kegland. Welcome back to All the Gear. Today on All the Gear, we're going to be setting up, running, and reviewing this. This is the Modular PolyPhoenix copper bubble plate still with shotgun condenser. In this video, we're going to unbox, assemble, and run the still, distilling 50 liters of rum and making distinctive cuts for the purpose of future aging for the Hinterland Distillery project. So join me today and we are going to have a lot of fun playing with this radical new still design. And spoiler alert, it is an incredible still. So in this box, there is the first of its kind in the world, a plastic still. Now we're going to get to what kind of plastic and all the rest in a second, but first I want to pull it apart. What have we got? This is kind of going to be an assembly video as well as a how to run video. We are going to have a bunch of triclover parts. Now this is a 4-inch to 3-inch triclover, but I won't bore you with this whole thing. I'll just throw them down. 3-inch to 1-inch reducing elbow, a bunch of 3-inch triclovers. Now these are the parts that connect the sections of the PolyPhoenix together. This is where the magic happens. This is PPSU. Now PPSU is a temperature resistant, thermally stable plastic that has absolutely no plasticizers in it and is perfect for this application. The thermal properties of this make it extremely insulative, which we'll talk about in a little bit. There are multiple different types of these sections. Here is a piece which is almost completely set up already. This is the bubble capper. They fit together. This is so bloody cool. Like so. This is, how cool is that? All right, that actually isn't where that part goes though, so. This kit comes with multiples of this piece, which is the bubble capper plate. Here is the top to the plate. It just fits over the top. So I'm just gonna race ahead and pull these parts out and then we'll assemble it. You remember when you were a kid and you used to get like a Meccano set and you used to build really cool things that, like, I don't know, maybe like you'd build an RC car or, well, this is when you get older and the things that you really enjoy change from, you know, cars that drive around to creating handcrafted spirits. And this is basically just a Meccano kit for a distiller. Is there anything funner than that? The kit I've got here is the 5-plate kit. All right, so this is the kit. There's actually more here than is in the 5-plate kit because they've sent me out a bunch of stuff to play with, but this is part of the kit. This is the shotgun condenser, and this is what's going to condense our liquid coming out of the still. And to add onto the bottom of this, I have a distiller's parrot. The thing that I haven't actually got is the Meccano pieces, because you can see on the side of the PolyPhoenix, it has these attachment points, and those attachment points actually allow you to structure the still so that it is able to hold accessories, and using those Meccano pieces will allow you to essentially have a still that holds itself up and all of the accessories, which is super cool. So now it's time to actually build the still. Over here next to my obligations to the Australian Tax Office, we have, this is the Fermzilla 100 litre Generation 4 Fermzilla, and I've been running it with this. This is the Alcoengine Pot Still with a sight glass and a 4-inch to 2-inch reducer with the Pro Distillation head. Now they've just released a new update that allows you to use individual elements and switch between those elements, and they've called it the Distillation Setting, and it's perfect for distillation. This is an absolute beast of a unit. It has 6,600 watts of heating and it allows you to get the wash up to temperature really bloody fast. The caveat is it requires a 32 amp power supply, but luckily for me, That is exactly what I have installed here, which allows me to run this unit. For its price point, there is no better value still that can do 100 liters. Let's set this thing up with the PolyPhoenix, which will make it a much better still than it currently is. I actually ran this last night and it's still hot. Because I haven't emptied this yet, we can build the still head over here on the table where it's a little bit easier to maneuver. And as you can see, this is actually the Dunder that's left over from the last distillation that I did, which we were actually going to be throwing back through for a spirit run. I think there's like 50 liters of rum that we're gonna be doing a final spirit run on today. The beauty of this unit is it has a built-in pump. All I have to do is press this button and open this ball valve, and that starts pumping out my Dunder that I don't want to keep. And I don't even know if you can see that. That just runs down my drain. How easy is that? And to clean it, all I do is hit it with a hose as it's pumping out. I don't even have to do any heavy lifting. All right, while that's draining, while it's emptying, let's build the still head. So I'm gonna remove my old still. This is a 4-inch tri-clover on the top of the Pro Distillation lid. So I'm just gonna put that over and we can add on our 4-inch to 3-inch reducer and we can start to build our sections. We are going to need 3-inch seals and we can start putting our sections on and using our tri-clovers, do them up. Trying to get them all in the same orientation because that is one of my pet hates when I see a poorly constructed still. Not poorly, but just lazily. Like, they could go all in the same direction. There's no reason why all of the tri-clovers can't be in the same orientation and hidden. Am I being pedantic? Yes. And this is what the bubble plates look like. So you can see here, they're in 4 sections essentially. The outside acts as the seal between sections and the top plate of the bubble capper. That just fits in like that. It looks like we are alternating from back to front, and I kind of want to be out of the way of these ports in case I want to insert a thermometer or something through the side of the still, which these ports allow for. So I'm gonna have them sort of diagonally alternating. And then this one is going to be there. And you can see that we're nearly drained completely. So I'm just gonna start washing my still internally. You can see down the bottom there, the whirlpool that the pump's creating. I'm just trying to get all of this muck out. And it's conical on the bottom, so it drains completely, which is fantastic. Perfect. All right, let's continue. All right, so theoretically, because I have them, I could actually build this up to this massive size still that really polishes my rum. But I don't particularly want this rum to run through 5 plates. So I'm only running with 3 plates today. So for the top section, I'm actually going to be using a T-piece, and it's going to give me the offtake on the side. And on the top, I can just use a clear sight piece to seal it off. And to the side here, this is going to be where our shotgun condenser is. All right, so we're just Teflon taping all of our shotgun condenser to our tri-clover pieces. And that will actually fit like so. And we are starting to look familiar. I'm gonna add on our quick connects. They're just gonna allow us to connect the hose directly to the shotgun. We don't need to Teflon tape those because they have an internal gasket. Usually you would actually be able to TC clamp your parrot to the base of your shotgun if you wanted. However, I don't have the part that I need because I didn't put it in the order. So I'm actually going to be just using the parrot on its stand, and this is pretty much done. We can put this on our still now, but not before we fill it up. and we are going to be filling it up with, I'm actually a little bit nervous to use this because I have never used it before, and I'm not particularly keen to try it out first time on my very hard worked for final spirit run of rum. So what I am gonna do is, I'm gonna run it on this. This is a 65 litre Digiboil boiler with, again, pro distillation lid. This is gonna allow me just to get used to this still before I put a really expensive, time-expensive product through it. I've got a 15 amp power point up here, which I can plug that into. I'm gonna set this still up. It's actually quite high. So that is our still head. I might need to lower this. I don't really care about what happens to this molasses wash. It's just a leftover molasses wash that I had from a previous distillation. So I can lower the still and feed in the wash. I'll chuck in just a little bit of butter as a distilling conditioner. We can throw on the top of our still, hook it up, and this here is just, it's a table jack that you can jack up with your feet, and these are just amazing for this purpose. Now, I would actually highly recommend having the still on a permanent fixture so it's not able to be knocked or wobbled, and using the trolley jack for the table that you're collecting rather than the way I'm doing it. This is just a weird setup for this video, essentially. The trolley jack allows you to get your still to the perfect level so that you can position all your equipment and your collection jars on your table. All right, so at this point, I'm gonna flick the boiler on. I'm gonna turn on all the elements. The Digiboil has a 500 watt, 1000 watt, and a 2000 watt element, all up equaling 3,500 watts. And you've got your temperature of your wash down here, so you can see it as it boils. There's no pump in this one, you just have a tap over here. Now, if I was to do this setup again, I would have got the Fermzilla 65 litre, because that allows you to do beer as well as distill. It allows you to control it in the same way online as the Fermzilla 100 litre, and it gives you all of the pumps and the cleaning capabilities of the big one that I've got, just in a smaller setup. So this is really good to have in conjunction with the 100 litre, purely for spirit runs on the smaller amounts that you're collecting from your stripping runs. So they work in tandem with each other, the smaller stills and the larger stills. It just depends how much you want to get really into this hobby. I'm like the king of forgetting parts. I forgot to order a rubber section for the thermometer to stick into. I've got one of the quick swivels, and I've just cut out a piece of rubber to sort of jerry rig up a thermometer point, because you will need a thermometer point, and you can have like as many thermometer points as you like. So you can literally measure anywhere. But the place I'll be measuring is up here at the point where the spirit's going to be collected. This is going to be where I measure the temperature. This is my thermometer probe, and that's just going to be connected over to my thermometer. That's going to tell me the temperature within the still head. All right, so let me talk to you for a second while we're waiting for it to heat up about this shotgun condenser. Oh God. Actually coming up the temperature really fast because there's so little liquid in the still and at a very high wattage. It's a 3,500 watts. You can see the vapor actually coming up the still here. We need to condense that vapor once it starts moving up the still and out the only exit. There is no closed system here. No still is a closed system. The exit is here. And we don't want the vapor to exit. We want liquid. So to condense the vapor, we need to drag it back below 78 degrees essentially. To do that, we use this. This is a shotgun condenser, and we run water through it. The way that you run a shotgun condenser is you run the water from starting at the exit for the vapor path and exiting the start of the shotgun. So the water will come in here at its coldest and hopefully cause the vapor condensate to exit at its coldest as well. And as the water moves up the shotgun, it gets warmer as the vapor gets warmer towards the top. So we need to run water through it essentially, which is what these hoses are for. All I need to do is connect the water source and the exit path to the shotgun. So you're gonna get a little tour of my property because I'm gonna show you where the water is coming from. The water comes from the tap over here. Now the tap doesn't magically appear like in the cities, but I'll show you where it comes from. It goes into the still. I turn this tap on and this one on as well, and we start the water running. Now that will run through the shotgun, up along my roof. You can see there, it runs along my gutter, down through my leaf eater, underground to the pipes and back into the tank. At which point, the heat dissipates within the water because there's just so much water in these tanks. The pump here pumps the water from the tank back, you can see the pipe going there, into the distillery. Back through the wall, we close the loop, back to the still. This is the heart of my house, essentially. To control the flow of water, we have a bunch of different options, from the tap on the wall, the pump you choose, but the easiest way, I think, is to control the water at the still, and I like to do that with just a ball valve. This one's integrated into the quick connect, which is quite useful. So this is what the internals of the bubble cap looks like. And these bubble caps have been designed by the team at Kegland to work in a very wide range of scenarios. These bubble caps, these plates, will work between 500 watts and 3.5 kilowatts. And they've explained to me that you could probably even push it further. More testing needs to be done, and I'm gonna do it. I'm actually gonna be pushing these to the limit today with 3,500 watts. The bubble plates, they're a completely copper construction. That gives you the interaction with copper throughout your still without the still actually being made of copper. So you're not stripping away parts of your still every time you clean it with citric acid. This PPSU, it is extremely chemical resistant and it has 0 plasticizers in it. It is one of the safest plastics that you can possibly use in any design, really. This is what they make baby bottles out of, because baby bottles have to be cleaned in dishwashers and heated in microwaves, and this is the plastic we trust our kids with. So to anyone that's a plastic hater out there, and you're allowed to have a go at them in the comments if they've just jumped on this video and typed away. Ooh, I smell that. Ooh, we are getting vapor out the top, which is very, very interesting. So I'm gonna start this up. Yeah, we've hit 53 degrees at the top, and that's my alarm. So that was very quick. I am gonna run this at full bore to start with. Yeah, we have liquid coming out. I am gonna need to turn this bad boy down because we are, what are we at? Turn it down to 2,000 watts. We have a stream of liquid. So I'll just give you a look at what it's doing right now. It's not doing anything great. This is essentially, we're at 0%, but this is coming out at like 18 degrees Celsius. Shotgun condenser is doing its job perfectly. I'm gonna shut this whole thing down now. Okay, so that's actually my test run over. That wash was a complete flop. I kind of knew that that wash never fermented properly, so I wanted to give this a go. I got a little bit of alcohol off it, but it's just gonna be a throwaway run. We can now try it out with real alcohol. I told you, all the gear, no idea. Okay, I'm gonna move it over to our other boiler. We can start an actual spirit run. All right, so now we are going to put a whole lot of rum. So this is, it's at about 40%. That is our stripped rum. And let's have a look at the percentage. We are at 37.7%, which is actually, I don't even need to add any water to that, which is absolutely fine. All right, I am set up for the distill. I've got my jars numbered for my heads. We are at 59.7 degrees And we're just waiting now for the boil to heat up. I've got it on 4,400 watts. You could have this on 6,600 watts, which is all of the boilers going. But I'm just being careful as I'm getting it up temperature. I just want to make sure that I'm doing this all right the first time. Okay, we are collecting spirit. I am turning the shotgun on. Turn this bad boy down. 2,200 watts. It looks like we're collecting at about 85%, which is really good actually. Yeah, we're at 82%. All right, we have really picked up pace here. So I've collected 5 initial jars. I'm gonna collect larger jars for the hearts. Towards the end, I'm gonna make my cuts. So I'll just make my cuts off smell. I'll also use, obviously, the alcometer reading as well. Probably gonna collect 1, 2, or 3 of these, it depends. It is a very high percentage at the moment. It's looking at like 85%. We're deep in the hearts. The still is absolutely running perfectly. One of the benefits of this style of still is that it's super well insulated. As well as having the insulation on the boiler, the plastic itself is something like 40 times more insulative than stainless or copper. It's an incredible still. The shotgun condenser is only just keeping up with the power of the still. It's a 2,200 watts. I think I could probably push it a little bit. I actually think that some of my fittings are restricting the flow, so I don't really want to interrupt the distillation. I'm happy to run it slower for the first run. I really want to get this flow as high as possible so I can condense as much as possible. The spirit's coming out just a bit hot for my liking. All right, so I want to take a proof. It says we're at 80% on our alcometer. What have we got? 77.4. Actually, you know what? Without the meniscus, we're probably at 77.4. That's good. This parrot is working perfectly. And we are deep in the hearts. We are way overexposed, and that is okay. I was actually okay with the distillate until the end of this. Can you even see that, what I'm pointing at? No. These 2 demijohns, carboys, they're definitely heads. I think the cutoff is probably now. We're at 70%, which is really high. I'm gonna start collecting in smaller increments, and then we're going to do it in the morning, because I've been drinking. I made mead recently, and the mead is delicious. I'm sorry, editing Mitch. We are, well, we're almost done. I am not familiar with this still at this point, but that is low because everything else has been coming up massively high. So one of our bubbles is barely bubbling anymore. This is not drinkable. I've turned everything off. I'm going to revisit this in the morning. I'm not willing to make cuts at this point, so let's revisit this. All right, so it's now the next day, and I trust my senses to make the cut. Lay out our cuts. And whatever makes the cut is going to be put into this. This is a Tasmanian Tiger cooperage, ex-Tasmanian whiskey, French oak barrel. And this is probably going to be about perfect for the amount of rum that I want to fill it with. So I'm going to go through, make my decision on the cut, and then in a future episode, I'm going to show you how to season this barrel and prepare it for barrel strength rum. This was actually number 1, but that is a 4-shot, essentially. Nope. Nope. Ooh. Notes. That smells real good. It's fruity. I think number 3. Okay. All right, yes. I'm going to cut real hard. Oh, that smells incredible. This is like got a real caramel smell to it. I almost want to just bottle that. That's good. Questionable. I'm cutting like really deep here because it's actually really good spirit. Throughout the stripping runs, I was already taking off a bunch of the early heads. So there's only really 3 jars. The first 2 and the real deep heads. And then I get to a point on the third or the fourth jar really, but the number 3, you get these really nice fruity rum aromas coming through. It is quite fruity at the front, but I want those fruity notes to come through. We're gonna be aging this properly. So it's gonna get a bunch of barrel time. These 2 middle hearts, they're completely different. This one has this really clean floral smell, but this one, I can only describe it as like caramel. It is like a delicious caramel scent. Wow, this is the most pronounced I've ever experienced the cutting of spirits. The still has just separated the aromas like it's been fractioned perfectly. I haven't ever done a spirit run where the spirit has been fractioned so distinctly, although this is the largest spirit run that I've ever done. Thank you to Kegland for sending me out the Modular PolyPhoenix to review and test. I will be using this unit far into the future, and it is actually a pleasure. I'm so happy that it ran so well and gave me such a good result. All of the equipment that you saw here today is available on the Kegland websites. I'll put links in the description. I hope you enjoyed this episode of All the Gear, and I hope I left you with some ideas. Happy distilling, and I will see you next time on All the Gear. Sick.